Hi, welcome to Woman of Strength, the place where we're authentic. We don't worry about being perfect. Can't even do my pronunciation, so there we go. What a great start. So it's not about perfection, it's about imperfect action. And all my guests that I interview are women who really, really step into being authentic. And so I have a wonderful, wonderful guest today called Korven, and she's got an amazing story to tell. And so, as you know, any of those that have been following me on doing these interviews, I'm not one for perfection around camera. I've not got an amazing memory to retain everything. And so Kim sent me some great information about herself, and I'm just going to give a brief introduction, and then I'll pass you over to Kim. And so Kim is a Canadian mother, spouse, lawyer, mediator, and adult educator. And as a teenager, she competed nationally in judo, and she coached at the local judo club and was active in her family's farming operation. Doing so, she learned how to be mindful in her surroundings, how to recognize hard truths, and how to make decisions. Kim waited until she was in her 30s until she married, and she thought that she was marrying for life. However, she discovered that her first husband and her were not well suited, and she recognized that they would be happier apart, but he wanted to stay married. And so things could have easily turned ugly because her husband wanted to stay married. Kim used the principles from judo: mutual welfare and benefit, and maximum efficiency with minimal effort, and her knowledge of the legal system to create a peaceful divorce. It was still painful, but there was no trauma from fighting in court. And that sounds amazing. And so that resulted in Kim in 2016 launching her business and starting to help people divorce peacefully. And what a joy. That just sounds beautiful, just doing that. And she did this while having a full-time job as a lawyer. And in 2017, she opened her own law and mediation practice so she could expand how she helps families. And she does this as Kim Korven, lawyer and mediator. Welcome, Kim. Like a peaceful divorce? It's unheard of, isn't it? Well, obviously not. Tell us more about that, because that sounds amazing.
Well, thank you, Anne. And I mean, our traditional thought pattern on divorce is that it's conflict and misery and all this fighting in court. And I knew from having practiced family law and seeing people fight over spices and towels, and that it wasn't what I wanted. And I also knew I had done some child protection work. And child protection is when the government takes children away from their parents. There's significant safety concerns. I learned doing that children love their parents no matter what.
Absolutely.
And it was a really profound lesson for me, realizing that no matter what a parent does, the child is going to love that parent forever, right? Doesn't like the parent's behavior, but feels the love. So when I started seriously thinking about I'd have to end my marriage, and it was about a 3-year back and forth period. Do I stay? Do we separate? I kept that in mind, and I really I knew my children, they were quite young when their father and I separated. Our daughter was almost 3, and our son was 7.5, I believe. So I knew that they would have an excellent relationship with me, but I kept in mind that I wanted them to have the best relationship possible with their father. And so, of course, I don't know if you've ever been divorced, but I didn't want to see their father at all. You know, in the latter stages of our marriage, it was not healthy. We weren't bringing out the best in each other. But keeping that in mind, that they would always love him and wanting them to have the best relationship possible with him, I acted the adult and was able to go, Kim, just suck it up sometimes, right?
Yeah.
To put their needs first. And it also meant when I first asked him to leave, he would actually come to the house to parent them. And I was self-employed at the time and had an office here. So often I was here. You know, he came 5 days a week for about an hour and a half and was able to bath them and put them to bed. So it wasn't as this, you know, this firm cut. So it allowed him to feel like he was still part of the family and allowed the children to feel we're still a family. And it was incredibly difficult for me to do it. Like originally it was 6 days a week and I couldn't do it. I had to say, no, just 5 days. I need 2 days without seeing you. But I think that was the foundation of our peaceful divorce.
That sounds amazing. And yeah, in answer to your question, I have been divorced. My first marriage, I'm in my third and final marriage now. But my first marriage was very similar to what you're saying in terms of after that. It was my decision, marriage to end, and I wanted it to be about our children and not about us. So it's great because I hadn't even given any thought about the gifts that I've given my children through doing that. It was just so being this strong woman and knowing what we want in our lives. We always put our family first. And so it's great to know that there's someone like you out there guiding, you know, families to do that. Because I know when it was my choice to do that, to put our children first, because it was a grown-up decision to divorce. But lots of people around us were saying, why are you being so great as parents? Why are you spending so much time together? You might as well still be married. Like family didn't understand, friends didn't understand. And there was some confusion for our children. Now our children are grown up and married and got their own children. And when they reflect on it, for them it was just normal. It was a great, you know, a great childhood for them. So I love that there's someone like you out there guiding people through that process. Because I asked myself, I was not lucky, just the fact that that was what we did. Children in my life have always been first. And there's some similarities in us too. So yeah, I mean, when you talk about child protection, I'm a registered social worker. I know all about child protection and how children are removed from their families. So the fact that you can keep that family unit as the family unit, whatever that looks like for families for their future, is amazing. So the question I'd like to ask you is, was that when you really stood in your power of being a strong woman, or does your story start before that?
Well, I mean, I grew up, you know, like helping on the farm in a male-dominated field, right? I was active on the farm. Judo, I can remember being at a judo tournament when I was about 14 years old and a man holding a door open for me. And as I walked through, he said, well, I can hold the door open for you. You're still a lady, even though you do judo. So there was a lot of previous experiences in terms of, and my divorce as well. I mean, my husband, you know, there was some mental health issues. So it made it very interesting. And that's all I'm going to say. The good thing is, by divorcing, he got the help he needed. So it was a wonderful gift for us. And the interesting thing with my divorce is one of the things I'd always wanted to do was to get my master's in law.
Yeah.
And I put that away from me, but I couldn't let I couldn't let that dream die. So I actually took my children, we moved to another city, rented out our home, and I went and studied got my master's degree.
Amazing, fantastic. So all while being a solo parent.
Being a single parent, and I was the first. There was 5 of us who started the master's program at the same time, and I was the first one to finish.
Wow. Oh, so that's amazing. So what advice would you give, women? Because it sounds like there's this real drive, this purpose, you know what you wanted to achieve in your life. And for you, you had to go back and do more study. That was what was driving you. So what advice would you give women who are in that situation, that they're solo moms, they've got this drive, this passion, commitment to life, to their purpose, and they need to go back and study and manage children and manage breakdown of a marriage and run a home? Right? Because that's huge in itself, isn't it?
Well, it's, I think the funny thing was I had walked away from judo for 25 years because as a teenager, when I went to compete at the seniors level, I lost every fight 1 year. And I was so demoralized, I thought, I'm going to take 1 year off. And then I was such a perfectionist. I was busy traveling, but I couldn't compete at the same level I had, so I stayed away from it. And I happened to run into my former coach. And this is when it was getting really ugly in my marriage. And, and I was holding it together and appearing to the world like everything was great, but it really wasn't. But I went back and started coaching again. And it was something that had given me so much joy as a child and a teenager. It awoke that spark in me, right? Where instead of feeling completely beat up, completely demoralized, feeling like the complete failure, there was this spark of joy. And I really credit that to awakening in me the strength to really start evaluating where I was at. The other thing I think for women to realize, if they're in a bad relationship, they don't need to give up their power. Yeah. And because we tend to think, because we do marry for life, right? Nobody walks down the aisle thinking, well, in 6 years and 3 months' time, we're going to be ending this.
Absolutely. No, we do make that wholehearted commitment.
So we feel like is the complete failure. We don't need to. Every other significant life transition, we're the CEO, right? When we get married, we don't let the priest say, you're getting married this day, this time, this is what you're wearing, this is who's in your wedding party. When someone dies, it's not the funeral director saying, you must cremate this body, there must be an oak casket. It's family making the decision. And we need to start treating, if women realize that separation and divorce is just another life transition, right? And it's a death. If we can start treating it like a death of that relationship, the dream of that relationship, those feelings of failure can become much smaller. And we can maintain much more control and educate ourselves and tap into what's really important for my family.
And that's so true. I mean, I always talk in my life is that it is a book, it's a journey, and when something comes to an end, it's the end of that chapter, that's all it is. And then we start a new chapter, and we are able to be our own writer, so we can say what we want that chapter to be. We do have that power, and when we realize we have that power, like you said, we don't feel so dejected, so useless and powerless. We actually can write the next chapter, and it's amazing to be able to do that. So, yeah.
And I mean, the other thing to realize is that the divorce model that we use is based on the commercial model. Yeah. And it's adversarial. So for you, and it's one side wins, one side loses. So of course you're presenting yourself as this superstar, and you're presenting the other parent, somebody who you once loved, as a complete asshole. Yep. Yep. Right? So, but if you have children, you have to maintain some kind of a relationship, and that whole process works against that. So, I mean, one of the things I do is I coach people. Here's how you need to talk to your lawyer. Because in my province, I can do this as a lawyer, but other places, I coach people through this process. Right? So it's my knowledge of how the legal system works. And I mean, part of that is, I mean, you don't get a master's degree unless you like thinking conceptually. Right?
Yes.
You know, it's not something most people go, yeah, I need this. But so it helps me think about this whole process. And people used to say to me, Kim, how did you do it? And I always thought, oh, this is easy. Anybody can do this. And then I realized I got far enough away from it to realize not everybody can do this. Yeah. And maybe my gift is I help other people do this. You know, because it is so needed. And ultimately, what I want to do is transform the paradigm of divorce, to move it from this experience of conflict and trauma, because it's unresolved conflict is what harms children, right? It's not children not living with both their parents. I mean, children who live with both their parents where there's conflict and misery and the parents don't like each other, that's really detrimental. And I mean, and I look at my son, who had all kinds of behavioral issues when his father and I lived together, and we got a diagnosis and we blamed it on that. But this is the child who one time, when he always wanted a cat, our son, and my former spouse is allergic. So one time, my son and I were at the local shelter, animal shelter, and we were looking at cats and kittens. And there was a kitten my son really liked. And he was, well, Mom, let's bring this kitten home. And I said, but honey, your dad's allergic. We can't. And his response was, I can get a new dad. Wow. And I didn't see it for what it was. I thought, oh, he's being cute. Yeah. But it was a cry for help. And I think, looking back on it, I think a lot of his behavior was a cry for help because of the tension in the household. Yeah. And I mean, this week, right now, he and his dad are off on a school trip. His dad's a chaperone, and they get along well. And I picked up his dad when they were to take him to the airport. And so it's this wonderful transformation. So, I mean, I lived with the conflict, the impact of conflict on children. And it breaks my heart thinking that I didn't get the message when my son gave me that message. It took another year, but to this transformation where they have a really solid relationship and like spending time together, right? Their love is such a positive expression now.
And that's beautiful, isn't it? Because what we want to be is I mean, reflection is a great thing. We can look back and we can see things that we may have been able to take now to get someone living that we don't really see it. And I would say, you know, when we do see it and we understand it very well, take action, and that's exactly what we did. We put it in the data, you didn't necessarily recognize that was at the time. And children, I'm a therapist too, and I work with a lot of adults, and all of their stories is how much childhood experience. And many of them, you know, they've grown up in that particular situation, and they only wish that they found because they felt part of that. And then when we start looking at that story and unravel it and see that they weren't actually part of it, you know, there's nothing they can do, then they understand that they were powerless, but not powerless in any negative sense. And how that, you know, they try to communicate and we don't. And I look back on my own you know, I know my profession, the gift we give our children is to be that role model, is to say, you know, I remember when you said to me, and I didn't take it, and I'm sorry for that because I didn't see it. Because I was so wrapped up in trying to keep everybody safe. I'm really sorry that I didn't hear or see what you were doing. And children, whatever age, they move on from it. But it's that unspoken stuff that they can't say. So the fact that you coach parents through that is, I love it. It's amazing because the work you're doing is not only helping women have a peaceful divorce, but it's also helping children become resilient and strong and have a voice. So
Well, thank you, because it is the best gift we can give our children is to be authentic and to be happy and to be living our dreams. And if we can be modeling a respectful relationship with their other parent, then our children are safe and they're able to become who they're meant to be.
absolutely, yeah. So if there's some women watching and listening to this who are in a relationship right now and know that they want to get out of it, but what's holding them there is, you know, the safety. Maybe two pieces of advice that you give them.
Can you I couldn't hear the end of that statement.
Okay, so I said if there was women currently in a relationship that they know that they really want to get out of, but they're staying there for the sake of the children, what two pieces of advice would you give them?
So you asked what advice I'd give them to get out, women who are wondering, or?
Yeah.
I would think first thing, commit to knowing that your children are going to love both parents. Step one. Step two, believe in yourself. Okay. Step three, gather information so you can make an informed decision. And I think most importantly, be in touch with who you are. So you can be the CEO. You're the expert of your family.
Yeah.
And if women wanted my assistance, I have two different emails, and one is clearly associated with divorce. www.fullcircledivorce.com is the website. My email is kim@fullcircledivorce.com. And if anyone signs up for my email list there, they get my 7 strategies to a peaceful divorce. Okay, just a handout. Or if there's a concern of somebody else, a spouse, for example, finding out that you're thinking about getting a divorce, email me at my other email, which is just Kim@KimKorven. So that's KORV as in Victor, EN.net. And ask for a copy of the 7 strategies for a peaceful divorce.
Fantastic.
Or, I do free 30-minute consultations too.
Okay.
So if anyone, reaches out and says strong woman in the subject line, a free 30-minute consultation.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Kim. Now, one question I was going to ask, now you're obviously based in the United States, so how does that work for women who don't live in the United States, in terms of the law and the advice that you can give?
Well, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, the United States, England, we're all based on the British legal system, right? So my coaching in terms of how to deal with lawyers is consistent, okay? And also, I mean, I think it's a universal experience, those feelings of shame and helping people become the CEO. You know, that empowerment, and you don't have to know all the answers, but you are the expert for your family, and helping women realize that. Yeah. You know, it's just, it is so wonderful. And also helping women realize they don't have to do it the same way as everybody else is.
Yeah. And it's so true, because there are so many ways to separate and divorce. One of the things, I don't know if you've got it in the States, but in New Zealand, we've got a program that couples can go to called Parenting Through Separation.
Yeah.
And but so many couples won't go. Like, if the woman is the one who wants to leave, or the other parent go, they don't believe that they need to. And I think women feel stuck. So to have an educational service like you're offering, it's fantastic. So I would definitely be letting people know that you know, women, that is available to them.
And you know, I work with some women, they have a lawyer here.
Yeah.
And I basically coach them. I'm somebody who they can bounce ideas across, and I support them. Because of course, the legal system, and I mean, we have a similar program here about parenting after separation and divorce, but it really targets the legal issues, and also it's only up to divorce. Which, of course, when you have children, as you know, that relationship continues longer.
Yeah, well, it's a lifelong relationship, isn't it?
Exactly. And sometimes I mediate, you know, with both spouses, but as I say, other times, you know, it just, because if one, like if the woman can stay grounded, it's easier to stay peaceful, to have that support network.
Yeah. Absolutely. So could you just remind us, one more time, in where women can contact you?
I didn't quite catch that. It's the volume issue again.
Okay. Could you just remind us one more time how women can make contact with you, either via your website or the 2 email addresses?
Okay. So the email address is kim@fullcircledivorce.com or kim@kimkorven, KIMKORV as in Victor, EN.net. And the website where you can sign up to get the 7 strategies for peaceful divorce is www.fullcircledivorce.com.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I'd encourage any ladies out there listening or watching this, please get in contact with Kim. She's got a huge amount of knowledge and she can guide you through the process. So thank you for being my guest today, Kim. It's been amazing. It's been quite insightful to know that there's amazing women like you out there doing this beautiful work. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Ange, for having me, because it's so important to spread this message of hope and peace. And I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Remain real, authentic, and whole. Be yourself and continue to follow your dreams. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time on Woman of Strength TV.